Hello, human beings. Power Gamer here. A herd of monkeys have escaped from the zoo. Get back here, you little bleeding! That was rough. Who knew catching a bunch of monkeys on the loose would be so insane?
Ape Escape, a beloved game that unfortunately seems to have been lost to the sands of time. This was one of the coolest PlayStation games ever released, but it sadly doesn't get too much love anymore. It still has its fans, but the series is effectively dead at this point.
Which is a shame because I think it had a lot of potential, but sadly the series just stopped. How did this seemingly bizarre idea come to be, anyway?
The game was made by Sony as a way of showing off their fancy new DualShock controller for the PlayStation 1. The original PlayStation 1 controller looked like this. Because of this, Ape Escape was the first game to require the DualShock in order to play it. Some games like Metal Gear Solid and Spyro the Dragon gave you the option, but this one full-on needed it. The controls took a lot of time to be worked out, but after a lot of testing, they managed to get it right. Development for the game lasted around 2 years, and a few demos were included on various promotional discs. Ape Escape was finally released in 1999 for the PlayStation, and it was highly acclaimed for its gameplay and creative use of the DualShock. It also sold pretty well, resulting in 2 sequels released for the PlayStation 2, a remake on the PlayStation Portable, and a number of spin-off games as well.
Unfortunately, though, that's all the series got, and it hasn't seen a new release since 2010. This was actually the first PS1 game I ever bought, although I didn't get very far. Not because I didn't like the game, just because I got distracted by other stuff I wanted to play. But that was then, this is now, I'm finally gonna play through all of it to see if it was worth all that praise.
The game starts with Spectre, a monkey who performs at an amusement park finding a strange helmet invented by the Professor. He doesn't actually have a name. When Spectre puts on the helmet, he grows super intelligent but also turns evil due to the invention being untested. He gives all the other monkeys in the park helmets, which lets him control them, and sends them to take over the Professor's laboratory. 2 boys named Spike and Jake arrive at the lab, and Spectre activates the Professor's time machine, sending the 2 boys and all of the monkeys back in time. Spectre manages to kidnap and brainwash Jake, and plans to have the monkeys rewrite history so that apes rule the world. The Professor and his assistant Natalie are able to communicate with Spike and tell him he needs to capture all of the monkeys and return them to the present. They also send him a variety of gadgets to help him catch the monkeys, save Jake, and stop Spectre. The story is pretty silly, and it doesn't make a lot of sense if you think about it hard enough, but thankfully the game doesn't put too much focus on it. It does the job for the kind of game that this is. While most PS1 games don't hold up too well in terms of graphics, I think this game looks solid. It's dated, sure, but there's a certain level of charm to it. Characters have a decent amount of animations, and the environments are really varied and colorful. I also really like the music in this game. It's just so fun and bouncy. It really adds to the experience. The voice acting, however, is not that great. It isn't terrible, but it can be a little cheesy, and sometimes there's awkward pauses.
Oh, no, you don't. I still need them to help me, so they're not going anywhere.
No. It's better if you go back and help the Professor. Woo! Please help me!
The game is all about exploring the levels and capturing as many monkeys as possible. Every time you start a level, you're shown both the total number of monkeys and the number of monkeys required in order to beat it. You don't have to get all the monkeys in order to beat the game, but if you want to see everything this game has to offer, you're going to want to get them all. Once you catch the number of monkeys required, you're transported back to the time station, which acts as the hub world. Really all there is the level select, the save point, some mini-games, and a small training area. Capturing the monkeys isn't as simple as just finding them. They will run away or fight back if they spot you. The color of a monkey's pants determines how hard they are to catch. Yellow are simple and usually just throw banana peels, blue run faster, black shoot you with machine guns, white are alerted to you easier and throw bombs, green shoot missiles, and red have machine guns, bombs, and missiles. They are easily the most difficult ones in the game. Who would have thought monkeys could be so deadly? The monkeys aren't the only collectible though. Throughout the game, you'll also find Spectre Coins, which are these giant golden coins that look like Spectre. As you collect them, you unlock minigames to play in the hub world. They aren't required to beat the game, but they are needed if you want to complete it 100%. But of course, you're not completely defenseless in your journey. You have a variety of high-tech gadgets at your disposal. There's the Stun Club, which damages enemies and immobilizes monkeys, the Time Net, which is what you use to capture the monkeys and send them back to the present, the Monkey Radar, which helps you locate monkeys, the Slingback Shooter, which is a slingshot that lets you shoot enemies and hit switches, the Super Hoop, which lets you run faster and damages enemies, the Sky Flyer, which boosts you into the air and lets you glide across large gaps, and the RC Car, which lets you enter small crevices. You start off with only 2, but the further you go through the game, the more gadgets you unlock, and every time you unlock one, you're given a small training area to test them out.
But didn't I say this game was designed to show off the DualShock controller?
That's where the gadgets really come into play. This game has a very unconventional control scheme that takes a bit of time to get used to. You select your gadgets by mapping one to each of the 4 face buttons. Because of this, jump is on the right shoulder buttons. Yes, you heard me correctly, jump is on the shoulder buttons. The left shoulder buttons reset the camera to directly behind you and let you go in first person, and you use the gadgets with the right analog stick. You move it in whatever direction to aim and swing the stun club and time net, hold it to aim the monkey radar, pull it back to fire the slingback shooter, spin it around in circles to activate the super hoop and skyflyer, and do the spin attack with the stun club, and the RC car you move the same way you move yourself. This might sound like a gimmick, and that's because it is, but trust me when I say it feels totally natural when playing. Again, it does take some time to get used to, but once you do, you should have little to no issues. Like I said earlier, the developers took a lot of time to work out the controls, and I think they did a pretty good job. The gadgets are not only useful, but they're pretty fun as well. The skyflyer is easily my favorite. It's just so much fun boosting into the air and making these larger than normal jumps. There is another gadget that I didn't mention though, the underwater net. This gadget is only used when you're swimming, and it's the only gadget you can use while you're swimming. The swimming controls have you click the left stick to swim down, click the right stick to fire a net, and hold the right trigger to swim faster. There's also a few moments where you have to ride a rowboat where each stick controls a different paddle, and even a tank, which is kind of confusing since each stick controls a different side of the tank's wheels. It's kind of a mess. You can click down the left stick to crawl, which lets you sneak up on monkeys, making them easier to catch since they won't run away if they don't see you. It doesn't always work, but it can be pretty satisfying to do it successfully. Gotcha! I should also point out the slingback shooter has 3 types of ammo: rocks, which are unlimited, bombs, which are stronger, and missiles, which lock onto enemies. The last 2 are limited, and the only way to get more ammo is drops from defeated enemies. It's completely random when that happens though, so you want to save the stronger ammo when it's absolutely necessary. You'll find monkeys in a variety of situations, and you'll need to decide the best method of catching them. You can just run up and grab them, you can hit them with the stun bat to make it easier, you can try sneaking up on them so they won't see you coming. In the water, you need to use the water net, and some of them have some sort of vehicle to defend themselves with. There's a few that ride in UFOs, which are a pain to hit. Some ride on animals like a woolly mammoth, a triceratops, and the worst are the ones that ride in these tanks that are nearly impossible to destroy. This one literally killed me 3 times. Screw these tanks and screw whoever put them in the game.
Between the plethora of gadgets at your disposal and the different situations you'll be in, this game has a really nice amount of variety without it feeling overwhelming, which I really like since it helps the game feel fresh without feeling like it's just throwing way too much at you.
The game is split up into various time periods, with 3 levels in each one. The Lost Land, which is prehistoric times, the Mysterious Age, which is kinda ambiguous, Oceania, which is just filled with water, New Friesland, which is the Ice Age, Medieval Mayhem, which is medieval times, and Futurama, which is Spike's home time, not the TV show. The levels all have a variety of enemies to fight, and they usually fall into the level's theme. You'll fight things like dinosaurs, snowmen, robots, and suits of armor. Your health is represented by these 5 cookies, and every time you get hit, you lose one. Once you lose them all, you die and are sent back to the start of whatever room you're in. If you lose all your lives, it's game over and you're sent back to the time station. Thankfully, you don't have to recapture any monkeys if you get a game over. Once you have a monkey, you have it for good, which is a huge relief. You probably won't get too many game overs though, since the game isn't very difficult and it gives you a decent amount of extra lives, both from these shirts and collecting 100 of these coin things. I don't have too many complaints for this game, but there are a few problems I ran into. I had a decent amount of frame rate drops while I was playing. The camera can spaz out when you really don't want it to, and sometimes the controls can be a bit delayed. It's not bad for the most part, but there are some moments where you need split-second reaction time, and it can lead to some unfair deaths. A couple of times you'll be transported to another dimension known as Dimension X, where you have to compete in a race against Jake. If you win, you just get Spectre Coins, so you don't have to beat them, but it is kind of fun to try and beat your best time. There's actually a lot of cool little details in this game. If you use the monkey radar to locate a monkey, you can see that not only do they all have names, but they also have varying stats and a little description that tells you about their personality, which I think is pretty cool. Some of them even have little costumes. This is a level of detail I can really admire. Since you're transported back to the time station after getting the required amount of monkeys, you have to play each level at least twice if you want to complete the game. Some monkeys and Spectre Coins require certain gadgets you might not have yet, so it's probably best to play through the entire game and get all the gadgets before replaying levels to grab everything else. I guess I should talk about the minigames you unlock. There's only 3. Ski Kids Racing is a ski race. Each stick controls a different ski, and you want to hold them forward to boost while also steering. It feels weird, and it's kind of hard to get down correctly. It's okay, but it's not that great. Spectre Boxing is boxing. This is awful. You push the sticks forward to punch and pull back to block. Apparently pulling back makes your punches stronger, but I never saw much of a difference. These controls just don't work well, and you have to hit just the right spot in order to do damage. I'm so glad this is optional, because this sucks. Finally is Galaxy Monkey, which is a bullet hell shooter. Enemies come from all over the place, and you have to shoot them before they hit you. Now this is more like it. It's simple, but it's pretty fun. Easily the best of the minigames. Once you reach Medieval Mayhem, the professor manages to locate Spectre in this giant castle. This level is different in that the number of monkeys you capture doesn't actually matter. The goal is just to find Spectre. Once you do, he sends this giant suit of armor at you and escapes. This is where the game has its first real boss fight. Wait for it to charge up energy and then run from its axe before hitting it. Once you take it down, you discover that the professor and Natalie have been captured. Make your way through Futurama, shut down Spectre's factory, and travel up this tower where he attacks you with this giant ship. You have to avoid its missiles and laser blasts while also knocking out these UFOs. I'd recommend using the spin attack. After a certain amount of time, this green thing appears and you have to attack it. Once it's destroyed, you reach the final level in the game, Specter Land, the theme park where Spectre used to perform, but now he's turned it into a demented hellhole. You have to go through 4 separate areas of the park. First is Western Land, where you just have to capture some monkeys. Next is the scary coaster, and it is easily the worst part of the entire game. You have to ride on a roller coaster and jump at the right time to avoid these barriers. The problem is you have little to no warning of when one will appear. So you have to either take a guess or spam the jump button and hope the timing works out. You have to time it perfectly or else you take a hit. And there were a few moments where I pressed the button in time only for nothing to happen. I got more game overs in this part alone than the entire rest of the game. Screw this. After that nightmare, you have to go through this haunted mansion. Inside, you capture some more monkeys, fight off ghosts, and rescue Natalie. Alright, just gotta take the coaster back up. Oh, I screwed that up. Wait, what's happening? What's going on? What are you? No, I don't wanna, no! Okay, I'm back. Seriously, screw this coaster. Next up is Spector Circus. Jump on these platforms and kill this clown to save the professor. All that's left is go-karts, where you have your final showdown with Jake. Avoid his tiny cars and make him crash into the tire wall to expose this green spot just like on the ship. Once the car explodes, Jake is free from Spectre's mind control and heads back to the lab. This entire area can be a bit exhausting, but thankfully you don't have to do it all in one go. If you get a game over, you don't have to save anyone twice. I love how generous this game is with that stuff. Now that your friends are saved, it's time to take it straight to Spectre. Head inside his castle, and he literally rips it out of the ground, taking you into space. You have to travel all over Spectre's fortress just to open this one door/picture. And let me tell you, this level is exhausting. It took me over an hour to get through this. Not because it was hard, but because it was so freaking long. It takes ages to do all this. I think they could have trimmed it down a little. Once you reach Spectre, he jumps in this giant robot monkey head, and you fight from his perspective, which is kinda neat. You just have to avoid his missiles and hit him with the stun club. But that's not all. The head attaches to a giant robot monkey torso that shoots everything but the kitchen sink at you. Lasers, missiles, bombs, everything. You want to wait for him to shoot these pink lasers at you so these green spots appear like the previous boss fights. Attack enough times and the arms will be destroyed. Avoid the blast again, hit the body a couple of times, and boom! Spectre finally goes down. He does manage to get away, though, and Spike escapes the crumbling fortress to reunite with his friends. After the credits, Spike decides to find all the monkeys he missed and capture Spectre once and for all. After you defeat Spectre, you unlock one final gadget, the Magic Punch. It shoots out in the direction you flick the right stick in. The harder you flick it, the more force it gets. It can grab items, hit switches, hurt enemies, and break certain walls. It's good that it gives you a new gadget, because in order to get the true ending, you need to complete the game 100%.
Alright, give me a minute. And bam! That's the last one. The professor locates Spectre again, and you arrive in Dimension X. This level has no coins, no monkeys, just the true final boss. Spike tells Spectre he needs to take off the helmet, but Spectre refuses, leading to one final fight. You have to avoid his energy blasts and shoot him with the slingback shooter. After he falls, you have to hit his force field while avoiding more energy blasts.
Once his shield is destroyed, hit him with the magic punch. Do this a few times and he goes down once and for all, allowing you to finally capture him. And now, the game's over, for real this time. After another round of credits, Spike, Jake, and Natalie all run off to the amusement park to see Spectre, who's finally returned to normal.
I said wait!
Game conquered. Ape Escape is a blast. If you can get your hands on this game, give it a shot. It's tons of fun, and I would love to see the series make a return someday. But for now, I'm just gonna go to this new amusement park that opened up nearby. I even got a coupon for a free roller coaster ride. Yeah, dang it.